to Thru the Ringer. I'm your host, Tate Frazier. Welcome back to the show. We are in studio in New York, and joining us live from Los Angeles, he's back, Cousin Sal. Good to see you, man. I miss being in California with you. How you doing?
Great to see you, pal. I'm glad you were able to nab the Between Two Ferns studio. What happened to the other fern? It's gone?
I don't know. Someone took it. I think they sold it. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But, I'm happy to be here in studio somewhere. Looks great. It's great time. A little scary, by the way, Sal. 70 floors up. I'm not a fan of heights, but I had basically a mild panic attack when I got here to the studio. So that's always fun.
Oh, really? You want me to talk you through this? I don't know. Let's go by the window. Yeah, move close. Move your computer closer.
We're going to go roam outside in a little bit. But first and foremost, we got to play my favorite game, over-under reactions. I read you a statement, Sal. You tell me if it's an over or under reaction. You know the game at this point. And let's start with the Final Four. It's the best time of the year. And I say to you, Sal, a better Final Four would be one that does not involve all number one seeds. Is that an over or under reaction? A lot of people have said that all one seeds made it this year.
You know, if you ask like 1,000 people, you'll get 1,000 responses as how you want the Final Four to match up, for how you want the Sweet 16, where you want seeds, if you want a 12 seed in there or not. I think this is an overreaction. I love this tournament. I probably would defend it if every underdog won and was in the Final Four, every 16 seed, or if every favorite won. But we have the best players on the best teams right now in a mini tournament starting Saturday. You and I thought 2 1 seeds would make it.
I know.
All 4 made it. Oh, well, I'm happy to be wrong. I think it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. On that Sunday, both, 2 seeds are still in it, Michigan State, Tennessee. I thought we had a chance, Sal, and then both those teams just completely no-showed in those games, as is tradition. We know how that
you could have
goes.
gotten 8-1 odds on all 1 seeds from the Sweet 16 on, which is interesting. It just doesn't have 2008, right? Was the last year?
Yeah, it's kind of like the worst guy you know. And it was in San Antonio the last time in 2008. But yeah, it's like the worst person you know in the world put all 1 seeds in their bracket. You rolled your eyes when you saw their bracket. And now they are saying they are correct. And that person is Jay Williams. And he's doing a great job with it. Next up, I say to you, Sal, anyone who wins an office pool by picking all number 1 seeds should be forced to donate their winnings to charity. Over or under reaction? I feel like that's a proper reaction based on what I'm seeing.
I think so, too. I think that's under reaction. This is a different story from what we just talked about, though, right? Because pool hosts, people who hand out brackets or whatever, do it online, trying to convince people to join, the people who aren't maybe necessarily paying attention all year. They're like, oh, come on, it's easy. Just take the lowest seeds if you're not sure. And then they do, and now they're in first place. And the pool runners are like, well, that shouldn't count. I'm better than you because I took a chance with Xavier going to the Final Four. I'm a real man. And that's basically me imitating me. But in a way, it's like cheating on an exam. I don't know about giving to charity, but you should at least buy pizza, and good pizza, not Papa John's or Pizza Hut crap. Got to go 4 stars on Yelp, 1 for every seed added up.
I love it. Real New York style pizza. We got to have it. Next up, Sal, if Paige Beckers leads UConn to a national title, she will be the best player in school history. Over or under reaction?
Am I going to sound like an a-hole if I say overreaction? How does this work
I think
now?
you're right.
What year is this? I mean, Ekafor, Napier, Kemba Walker. Napier, 4 years, 2 championships, right? For UConn. You answer, Tate. I'll let you be the bad guy.
I mean, honestly, Brianna Stewart, Maya Moore. I mean, there's, I think Brianna Stewart probably is the right answer, right? She went 4 for 4. She was a number 1 recruit. She went there and was the number 1 pick as well. So, yeah, I don't think so. I think there's just too many people to kind of climb to get there. But Paige is a lot of fun. She got the Gatorade ad. She's doing all right.
This is where I want to bring our producer Sarushi in because she's a huge Paige Beckers fan. But, listen, I'm a Charlie Villanueva guy myself. So Paige is second.
He's the best. I love that. Next up, let's talk Dodgers. The Dodgers will break the MLB season wins record this year. The record is 116, 2001 Seattle Mariners. Sal, over or under reaction? Your thoughts?
I'm going to say, well, you know what? I have to see the shape of Ohtani's bat. I mean, for the rest of the year.
Yes.
They look damn good, but I'm going to say this is an overreaction. It's just too hard to do. First of all, they're already minus 800 on FanDuel to have the best record. That's insanity. I mean, we're not even a week in. They're minus 800. But I think 117 and 45 is a very tall order. I mean, that means you can't lose more than 7 games a month. So how do you say not happening in Japanese?
I don't know. We'll look it up. We'll get that done. It's also funny that the 1906 Cubs also won 116 games.
Why is that funny?
I don't know, because we have no footage.
All right,
are we just going to believe these guys? I don't know. What's going on here? Let's talk about the future of baseball. Torpedo bats are the tush push of the MLB. Over or under reaction, Sal? A lot of conversation about the torpedo bats.
Yeah, and I'll say underreaction. The tush push is staying now. Not enough owners complain. Boring ass short yardage football, at least for another year. I don't know what to think about these torpedo bats, honestly. It was fun when it was just the Yankees using them, but now it's like 17 confirmed players throughout the league, including Francisco Lindor on my Mets is using them. If these guys' averages go up 10 points this year, it'll be a big deal. I mean, I don't know. Do you like these bats? It looks like they've been warped. They've been underwater for 6 years.
It looks ridiculous, and it also kind of, to me, just feels like they're putting a cork in the bat, but this is like a backwards way to kind of like put a cork in the bat. I remember when Sammy Sosa had the corked bat and it broke, and then he was like, it was my batting practice bat. I just feel like these are juiced bats. It's pretty obvious that they're juiced, and I know Yankees fans don't want to hear it, but, it's right there. JJ's not happy about it.
Oh, JJ, yeah, we have to make him happy at all times. Is this like, though, getting fitted for a specialized club in golf? For some reason, I'm not as bummed out about that as I would be the bats.
But if you're hitting a driver 450 yards and everybody else is hitting it, 280 to 300, and you're like, sorry, I just got a better club than you. It's like, wait a second, what are you playing with? I guess I got to play with it. Now we're going to change all the equipment. It's a lot. So the torpedo bats, I think it's an eyebrow raising thing, to say the least. Another thing to raise your eyebrows at, Sal, NFL chain gang should blame Josh Allen for losing their jobs to technology. In case you missed it, a new first down line will be actually ran by a technology company, right? And it won't be the chain gang, the old guys.
I mean, it's a shame, like these old fat guys losing their jobs jogging out in a blizzard, but more jobs lost. I have to blame Biden here. Look, I'm not sure how important this is really. They're saying these, like you said, the Sony's Hawkeye technology next season is going to measure the first down, but that just means the ref's terrible spot is going to be measured electronically, right? It could still be an awful spot, but we got like better eyes on where that awful spot has to get to. I don't know. I don't think this solves much.
I don't think it does either, now that you break it down like that. And maybe the chain gang is okay. Maybe they still do have a job. So
they're
not
going to
be as upset. Yeah, that'll be good. Next up, FanDuel's announcement of the NFL season wins total should be a national holiday. Over underreaction.
Of course, underreaction. There's a national Kiss a Ginger Day, for God's sakes. We can make this a national holiday. FanDuel. It was so great. I loved it last week. I did a podcast with Simmons. I crushed him guessing the lines, the over under. Not even close. He should be ashamed of himself. But it's amazing that they came out with these lines. They have for everything now. Now all the odds are up, and now March is a football. And I'm sorry, a lot of people complain now. They say, oh, they got a free football podcast in the middle of basketball season and baseball. So you could choose not to listen. People are the worst, Tate. But yes, this should be a national holiday.
Well, I was just happy to see I got to go on Bill's pod, talk some March Madness. He had you on the pod. You get to talk some football. That was very nice. Shout out to BS. Last one, Sal. Adam Sandler needs to include Bruce Pearl in a new version of the Hanukkah song if Auburn wins the 2025 national championship. Over underreaction.
I think it's 3 coaches. Isn't it 3 of the 4?
Three, right. John Shire, Todd Golden. Yep.
Yeah. As a half Jew myself, I think the Hanukkah song needs some freshening up. Let's get the NCAA version out of Sandler. And I hate to say, this could be the new one shining moment if it's good enough. Let's see.
Yeah, it's better than like the Kane Brown concert they'll have on Friday night or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Let's get Adam Sandler out there and let's have some fun. And speaking of fun, let's call up the Riverboat captain. Let's do some prop culture. We got a fun question for March. And I know it's we moved into April, but we're still talking about March. So we got to ask this, Sal. Which princess had the worst March? We got the odds in front of us. Snow White, 3-1. NCAA Cinderella's 5-1. The Princess Cruises 15-1. Meghan Markle 25-1. The field even odds. What say you, Sal? Which princess had the worst March?
Is there a field? I think we picked all of them here. Maybe Princess Moana lost a ton betting the women's tournament. Shed a lot on USC. Poor Juju. Poor Moana. All right. I'll say the Cinderellas in the NCAA tournament. No buzzer beaters Thursday, Friday. Cha-ching wins again. No disrespect to the lovely and talented Meghan Markle, but I think it is the Cinderellas in the NCAA. We didn't have to pretend to get excited about George Mason or seeing Sister Jean's 500-year-old hands clapping, waving to fans. Calipari, I guess, is a Cinderella. He's the 10 seed advancing to the Sweet 16. That was the big shocker. We'll deal with it. A big L for college hoops princesses, though.
I know. And I had no idea that the Cinderellas were so beloved. I mean, obviously, we kind of feel that every single year. But now that we don't have Cinderellas, people are shaking their fists at the sky. They say, this is not my NCAA tournament. So I think it's an obvious answer. We're going to go with the Cinderellas 5-1. We're going to take the odds there. Those are pretty good odds. So I think that's a good call. And now, Sal, I'll turn it over to you. You're going to set some lines for us. What do you got for me this week?
All right, let's do it. John Shire, coach at Duke. This is going to hurt you to answer, unless you're just like, you'd be stubborn, your own stubborn self. Will he win over 2.5 titles at Duke?
I'm going to say over. I think he does. I think he ends up with 3 titles. I think that's the final. I think 2.5 is a great line. I think he's going to win one this year. Next year, he's got Cameron Boozer, Caden Boozer, Nick Kamenia. I just saw all these guys at the McDonald's All-American game in person. They look like the best players on the floor, and they're going to be playing at Duke next year, so they're going to reload and be just as good. I think we got at least, 15 years of John Shire coaching. If there's 3 titles within that 15 to 20-year window, that sounds like the right math to me. So I'm going to go over here, Sal.
Okay. And listen, if Sandler puts that song out, it really could propel it. It happened faster.
Right. That's right.
All right. Here's a Boston prop bet. Rafael Devers will get a hit before the 9-part Celtics documentary ends. He's 0 for 19 so far heading into Wednesday.
I think he will get a hit. I believe.
Oh.
I just think it has to happen. I don't know how many parts of Celtic City. I've only gotten through 2. I'm having a good time though. I'm just ready for Larry Bird to get there. But yeah, I think Devers is going to get a hit. I believe. Lock it in, Sal.
I'm all caught up, and I'm going to let Simmons know that you're 2 episodes behind. So if there are raises to be had,
I think I'm in trouble. I think I'm in big trouble.
No, that Celtic stock ends sometime in the middle of July. So that's a long time. Hopefully Devers could scratch out a single before that. All right, Tate, you, like you said, you're at the McDonald's All-American there. That was fun, right? You had a good time.
Great time.
Now, as far as McDonald's go, your All-American food item from the McDonald's menu, I'm going to say quarter pounder with cheese at plus 280. Is that correct?
They asked me this when I got here, Sal. They were like, what's your go-to order at McDonald's? And I kind of froze in the moment, and I was like, I don't really have a go-to order. It was like I told these people I don't believe in, goodness in the world or something. That, they're all McDonald's, working for McDonald's. Like, just the light in their face kind of dropped out in real time. So then I came back around, and I did say quarter pounder with cheese, no onions, with fries, and maybe a McFlurry Oreo style,
Wow, you said quarter pounder with cheese. Oh, so I went with that, with no onions.
So you were correct.
Okay.
So plus 280, that's going to hit. You just forgot the no onions part of it.
I forgot the no onions.
They were very flabbergasted. I did not have a go-to order as soon as they asked me. Not the first question I expected, but okay.
You didn't mention Bojangles, so that's good. You didn't embarrass yourself. Listen, the French fries are probably the choice on it, if we're going to be honest. They're the best tasting fries. The Coca-Cola, Tate, from McDonald's fountains.
Says. Yeah. Special
Chef's kiss. Sausage McMuffin with egg for me, I would say, though, other than all that. All right, I'm done.
I love it. McDonald's is really going to love this segment. I'm going to have to clip this out and send this to them so they know that we got some good people around me. We're going to take a quick break.
If anyone's a McDonald's All-American, it's me. Look at me. This is all I eat, for God's sakes.
I'm going to make sure they send you some shoes. Get Adidas to get you a swag bag or something. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to do some line look aheads and some track to the futures with Cousin Sal. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back to Thru the Ringer. We're here with Cousin Sal. We're having fun. NCAA tournament is happening. We got the Final Four this weekend. Sal, I know there's been a lot of grief. There's been a lot of griping about this Final Four, but you and I, we're on the right side of history here. We've had fun. These are the best 4 teams that we've seen all season long. So excitement level, I feel like it's pretty high for you and I, right, going into this Final Four.
I like it a lot. I feel like you're about to be miserable. I mean, that plant that's going to grow from your tears, right? The one behind you right now. Are you getting sad? Where are you right now? Only a few days left in the season, 3 games remaining.
I honestly can accept when someone's better. You know what I mean? Like, it's more when Duke won like a 2010 title where it's like Brian Zubek illegally screening his way to a title when I get more upset because there's obviously a 15-point cushion with the officials on your side. You got Zubek setting moving screens. You got John Shire throwing up Hail Marys that are going in. That team was more frustrating. This team, you're just like, okay, they're more talented.
I was more talking about your favorite sport and really your only reason to live coming to an end and how you feel about that.
No. Just watching Duke win the championship live and in person is really tough.
Well, they got some work to do. They're not there yet. It's about even odds that they move forward.
Luckily, the best teams have made it to the Final Four. So we have 3 teams that are all there that want to stop them. That's the good news. Let's do some line look heads. We're going to do Final Four player props. So the first game, we're going to look at Florida Auburn. Sal, who do you like in this one? And what do you think is the best player prop on the board?
All right. Well, I'll answer the second question because I have to give my picks out on Cousin Sal's winning weekend later in the week. But I do have a super player prop for you. Walter Clayton Jr. I mean, this guy, this is as strong a leader as I've seen on a college team in a while. Smooth player, creating shots like he did. Tate against Texas Tech, dribbling back to the 3-point stripe, letting it go like an assassin. 3+ threes, little hefty vig, -136, but he's had 3 or more threes in 3 of the 4 tournament games and 7 of his last overall. Even Jackson Kohler had 3 against Bruce Pearl's team. I like this Walter Clayton Jr. 3+ threes.
And it is nice, too, because it does feel like this Florida team, I mean, he could have no threes with 5 minutes to play in the game, and all of a sudden he can get hot. I mean, he hit 2 threes late against Texas Tech in that game. So, like, even if it feels like Walter Clayton is not playing at the level that he has been playing or expected to play, they still have this weird magic in the final 4 minutes where it just feels like Florida is almost predestined to go do, something special and maybe win the national championship. So I like that call on Clayton. I'm going to do Janai Broome under 19.5. That's around -118. And it's not because I'm not a fan of Janai Broome. It's not because I think he's a bad player or he's not going to show up for the big moment. But Sal, you watched the game. This was the most Willis Reed, I guess maybe because I'm in New York, I'm thinking about it, but it's the most Willis Reed thing I've seen. He basically goes to his backup, Chaney Johnson, and says, like, it's over, take over for me, Godspeed. And he goes to the back, and we all think he's done. Then he runs out of the tunnel, and it's this incredible moment. He has his best game of the tournament, but I do worry there is some sort of injury there, so I'm just betting on Janai Broome not having the same dominance that he had in the last game. 25 and 14. He was incredible, but I think a lot of the hype will be and the expectation will be that he goes over 20 points in this game, just looking at the line. But that front court for Florida is going to be a problem, and they're going to throw a lot of different bodies at him. They got enough bodies to have the fouls to go up against him. So I just feel like this is a Tahad Pettiford, Chad Baker-Mazara type of game, not a Janai Broome type of game. So I'm going to go under here, even though I do like Broome.
They are jacking these player props up because, because there's 3 games left and they don't want you to make any money. But yeah, 20 would be a lot in this game. It was interesting when Broome went out that game, Tate. I felt like that was the only time that game was sort of intriguing. Even though they were down 11 with 5 minutes left, it's like, all right, there's a shot. And then it's like it got to 9 when he came back a couple minutes later, and then he hits a 3 to seal it, and it's back to 12. Anyway, all right, Broome under. I like that.
Yeah, and Broome comes in, like you said, it was like kind of miracle moment. It's also crazy. Michigan State, Trey Holloman, who struggled in that game so much, who was kind of the emotional leader of Michigan State, he puts his name in the portal yesterday. So it's that's the other part of the college basketball.
That was an April Fool's joke, though. He took it out, I think.
He did?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a real prankster.
Oh, man. I remember when Roy Williams announced his retirement on April Fool's Day. I'll never be the same. April Fool's, not a good day for actual funny people, by the way.
You don't like it? Yeah, I know.
No, this is the day for, like, if you've never been funny, but you're just mean, you can have a field day, and you can do it under the guise of being funny, but you're usually just being mean. Let's do another line look ahead here. Final Four player prop. Duke, Houston. Obviously, we saw these 2 teams last year in the Sweet 16. Jamal Shead got hurt in that game. Duke moves on. There's maybe some basketball karma that's at play. But player prop-wise, what do you like in this game, Sal?
I'm going to come on Maluach over 16.5 points and rebounds, -120. He's not the Duke player mentioned so much. It's either Flag or Nopal, right? Probably because he's harder to pronounce. That's why he's not mentioned. But his player prop overs cash. They really have. He's at over 16 points / rebounds combined in 6 of his last 7 games. Listen, if you're going to bet one prop featuring a player from South Sudan, let it be this one.
I like it. And Maluach, it does feel like as this tournament has waned on, they have had this moment of clarity where they're like, okay, we can just throw lobs to him. If we get him rolling to the basket, there's really nobody that can guard him and deal with him. So I like that call for Maluach. I'm going to take Knipple over 14.5 around -104. I just think that Con Knipple is the safety valve of this team. When Cooper is kind of pressing, he did press against Alabama. Knipple was the guy they turned to, 21-5-5. I think he's special. I think he likes the moment. I think he's okay okay kind of being the second guy that you're not as concerned with. So I just think he's going to score and potentially, not going to score a lot of points against Houston, but I think he's the one that I would take, 15 plus. So I like that line at 14.5. So I'm going to go with Conca Nipple there. With the player prop, another line look ahead, Sal. Final Four championship game top scorer. Who do you like for this? This is both games, the top scorer overall.
Saturday, Monday, combined top scorer. You're out Saturday. You're probably not going to get it Monday. I am going to go. Now, listen, we both love Duke, but I did take Houston to win the whole thing. I'd show you my bracket. I don't know where it is right now.
I took Florida, Sal, so look at us.
You did. All right. Yeah. It could still happen. a lot of people are left and bracket-wise, it turns out. But for that to happen, for Houston to do this, I'm going to go LJ Cryer. He's going to have to get hot, right? He could also win this if Houston loses in the final. You just have to play in that final game. He's 12-1 odds, plus 1,200 to be the top scorer combined. He took off that game versus Purdue, but 17 versus Tennessee. He blasted the Zags with 30 last week. He can get hot, and those odds are better for him than any top-notch player, I would think. Plus 1,200. He's also plus 1,000 to win most outstanding player. And while the team is plus 380, so there's a little disparity there if you really do like Houston or want to take a shot with a longer shot.
And LJ Cryer can make history, Sal, as the first player to win a national championship with two different teams. He won the 2021 national championship with Baylor. They obviously beat Gonzaga, who was undefeated. He beats Gonzaga again with his career-high 30 points in the second round. That was a great 1-8 game. I had Gonzaga winning that game, but LJ Cryer kind of swung that one. The three-point shooting is the difference. That's the reason you can believe in Houston, and LJ Cryer is the reason why they do shoot the ball well from three. Did it for Baylor. He's now doing it for Houston, so I like that call. I'm going to go Walter Clayton Jr. It just feels like I mentioned the kind of, destiny of this Florida team. They should have lost to UConn probably. They definitely could have lost and should have lost to Texas Tech, but they still stand here. And the reason why is Walter Clayton Jr. So I'm going to take him plus 500. It's kind of just floating in that range. Like you said, it's kind of the MOP range for this, but I think Walter Clayton's going to score the ball at a high clip against Auburn. I think they're going to be okay, kind of going down, in a shootout there. And once we get to the title game, it feels like Walter Clayton is built for the big moment. We saw that in the regional, so I'm going to go with him. And
Walter Clayton or Walter Clayton Jr.? You keep
Walter
bouncing
Clayton.
back and forth.
Walter Clayton.
Oh,
Take the junior out. Take the junior out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. All right. Okay. I mean, that's not fair if they're both playing and you get points for either. But,
that's a 2-for-1 special there. But I like Clayton. And I will say, I mean, as much as I think it is a foregone conclusion, Duke's going to win the national championship because they're the most talented team. Florida is the one that gives them the most problems as far as matchup. Houston can maybe swing a game shooting the basketball. Auburn's already faced Duke. And, so there's a conversation to be had with all these teams. And that's why, I think it's a fascinating Final Four. We're going to have some great games. Last time we were there, 2008, Derrick Rose with Memphis, Kansas with Cole Aldridge, Darrell Arthur, that front court, Tyler Hansbrough's, Naismith Wooden Award year in 2008. So just a great Final Four. Then UCLA with Russell Westbrook. So,
you are getting sad. I could tell you are getting sad. This is going to be rough. I
just love it.
You.
I just love it so much. It was going to be a great Final Four. And now let's talk some NBA, Sal, your favorite. Let's do another line look ahead. Defensive Player of the Year. This is fascinating. Draymond Green seems like he has started his own campaign, and it is working. Right now, who do you have as your Defensive Player of the Year looking at the future?
You know
odds?
what? NBA is my favorite. I'm going to take Havlicek. Did you see that steal he had on Max the other night? My God, I didn't know.
I love Mad Max.
The streaming. No, this is weird. I only bring this up because you probably only have another week to bet this. There's like 6 games left in the NBA season. Evan Mobley's plus 120, plus 130. I don't know what happened here. It was minus 250 like a week and a half ago. He didn't get injured. He's playing at the same high level. He averages 10 boards, 3 blocks over the last 5 games. And all of a sudden there's a shift. I think this is wrong. I don't think the favorite, Draymond Green, is going to get it. He has to get actual votes from actual people who have to actually like him. This is not AI voting. This is SI voting, and The Athletic and The Ringer and men and women who don't find Draymond's antics adorable. Even if you like them equally, these players, I think Mobley's going to get this betted at plus money.
And I think Mobley's our American Wemby. So this is with Wemby going down, it feels like Mobley's the one that stepped up in that spot. And I think he's going to get rewarded for it. Now we get an NBA play of the day. This is for Wednesday game. Sal, I know you're locked into the slate. What do you like today?
Pacers double digits over Hornets, more of a pick against Charlotte. I feel like it's the dealer showing a 6 here. They've lost 11 to 13 road games. They're 7-30 on the road overall. They have double digit losses on the road in 4 of their last 5 games. They're 0-5 against the spread in the last 5 road games. And they're coming off a win. They rarely win back to back. They beat Utah at home. Pacers play team ball, 29 assists a game. That's 3rd best in the league. Nesmith coming off a 24-point game. They still have to win Indiana to get that 4 seed. They want home court against Detroit. 116-94. Give me the Pacers.
I like it. And it's all about incentives. And I'm going to take the Knicks over the Cavs. I've been talking to my friends in New York City that are all Knicks fans, and they just think there's some sort of mental hurdle with the top teams in the East and this Knicks team. So they need a win to prove to themselves they can beat a team that's actually good in the East. And I'm just taking just the idea, all vibes, that the Knicks can finally do it in this game. And it's a random NBA Wednesday. Maybe this is something that can sneak up on the Cavs a little bit, playing at home. Knicks come to town, a little bit of chip on their shoulder. They got blown out not too long ago. So maybe it's a statement game for the Knicks to say, hey, we're actually going to be involved in this process.
You're a New Yorker through and through now. Let's get you on East Coast Bias podcast. Let's do it.
Sal, you're the best. Where can we find all your work? And then we'll let you go enjoy the rest of your week.
Against all odds with the D3, those bozos twice a week. And Cousin Sal's winning weekend at the end of the week. I'm going to have Kevin Owens, WrestleMania's Kevin Owens on. That'll be fun. And we're going to pick some winners in these Final Four games.
All right, there you have it. Thanks, Sal. We appreciate you. Coming up after the break, we've got the Ringer's very own Todd McShay to break down the 2025 NFL Draft. Stay tuned. We'll be right back here on Thru the Ringer. Joining us now, as promised, he is here to break down the NFL Draft, and he is a great new teammate here at The Ringer. We got Todd McShay from The McShay Show. He's also doing the newsletter, The McShay Report. If you're not locked in, you need to be locked in. Todd, great to have you on Thru the Ringer, and great to see you, man. How are you?
I named my son Tate, so it's a good jumping off point for you and I, right? I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. I'm enjoying it, having the most fun, rewarding year of my career, and really enjoying the show and everyone here. So it's good to be on with you.
Yeah, you're doing great stuff. We really enjoyed it. We're going to get into the McShay Report and some things, but I just want to do some general overviews of this draft. You had 2 years off before you came back and made your mock draft this year. I love the vigor that you had putting this mock draft together. How much fun has it been for you to kind of piece together this draft? Because just listening to the show, you can just tell you kind of have an affinity for a lot of these guys that are coming out.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a challenge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like having your own board, trying to figure out, like, do teams see it the same way I do? Then having conversations with teams, not getting direct information from that team, but hopefully someone's talked to someone in that team, and it kind of the circle goes round and round. This year's fun because I think we all agree that the jumping off point at best would probably be 4 for if you're taking Cam Ward and where he would have come off the board with the quarterbacks last year. Mm-hmm. So, and that's where the conversation would start, right? And you've got 3 teams at the top that desperately need a quarterback. You know, Tennessee did nothing really in the offseason to address its quarterback situation. Cleveland brought in Kenny Pickett, but we all know that's not the long-term answer. Mm-hmm. We've got this carrot though dangling, right, of Kirk Cousins. And I'll get back to that in a second. And then the Giants bring in, they've got Tommy DeVito now in a room with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, probably the most interesting in terms of characters in a room, quarterback room in the entire NFL, but don't have an answer long-term at quarterback. So, and now we've got one quarterback that everyone agrees belongs up there and another that there's mixed opinions on with Shedeur Sanders. And so then you got Abdul Carter, who's this awesome edge rusher from Penn State. 1 year, 16 games as an edge rusher. We saw what he could do, and he's kind of just scratching the surface. And then we've got this generational talent. Someone like we've never seen a player like Travis Hunter. Now, does the load management work on offense and defense, and where's he going to spend more of the time? All those questions exist, but he's a special dynamic player who could upgrade both sides of the ball, and that doesn't happen in the NFL, right? So tough decisions at the top, a lot of misinformation. I go back to, and that's why I wanted to come back to Cleveland. Sometimes the first information you get when people don't have their guard up and people are just talking early in the process, I'm talking about like January, is the best information you wind up getting. Because now as we get closer, everyone's guarded and there's misinformation and purposeful leaks and all that. My first information from Cleveland is they don't believe that this quarterback class is the answer long term. And while they recognize their situation, the salary cap purgatory that they're in because of Deshaun Watson, they've got a head coach who's one of the better quarterback developers and workers, guys who can work with quarterbacks. And they truly believe that Kirk Cousins, even at the end of his career, is good enough with the history he has with Kevin Stefanski to win a lot of games. And they bring back Myles Garrett. And now you're looking at it and saying, maybe that information was right, because there's been a lot of other smoke, including Shador, social media and all that stuff with trying to get involved with with Cleveland and their baseball organization and everything else. But at the end of the day, if that's true and Kirk Cousins is their target and Atlanta will let him out, I believe they need to win now. We all do. And I believe that they're going to go with either Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter at that spot. And then now it becomes pick number 3 that everyone wants to see, because do they believe in Shador unlike Cleveland does? And if not, we could have an absolute scene on our hands. Can you imagine the first night of the draft, pick 4, Patriots get on the board and Shador's still sitting there? You know what I mean? And looking at Patriots 4, no need for a quarterback, Jacksonville 5, like that to me is going to be the fascinating part. And if Shador does go 3, then the Patriots could be looking at Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter getting our, player A and 1A and 1B in this class at the 4th overall pick.
Yeah, let's look at the odds here. Like you said, Abdul Carter now the favorite to go number 2 overall, minus 300. You have him as your number 1 edge rusher. When you did your mock draft, I believe you had him right as number 1 on the big board. So we know he's a talented guy. The Micah Parsons angle is there with them both wearing the same number, playing at Penn State, a guy who can drop back, play linebacker as well. So there's a lot of utility there with Abdul Carter. So you can understand why Cleveland would be into that. Cleveland said they like 4 quarterbacks, right? You were talking about that on your show, that they put out basically, we like these 4 guys. But it doesn't seem like they would take one of those 4 guys. Shador is the second best odds at plus 340, but I don't think they take the swing at 2. There is the factor with their offensive coordinator, Tommy Rees, who was at Alabama with Jalen Milroe, and a guy who's going to be, late first, second round, maybe even farther than that, where maybe they could go for a quarterback later. Is that something that Cleveland might be into?
I think it's a consideration. I truly do. I think if you kind of study their patterns and who they've been evaluating. And I thought it was fascinating that they would say it and watch them go draft Tyler Shuck from Louisville, right? The one quarterback that we're all talking about in the first couple rounds that was not listed. But they pick again at 33. And yeah, that relationship's there. I was talking about that with Mensch yesterday.
It was a great call. That's why I wanted to bring it up. When I heard you guys saying that, my wheels started spinning, and I was like, yeah, that would make a lot of sense. Like, go for the playmaker at 2, whether it's Carter or Hunter, talk yourself into that, and then go for the quarterback that's less stakes, less value. You get like in the Lamar Jackson range. And I like that comp that Steve made, where it was like, this is a guy who does have these, obviously the elite deep ball, but you're still having questions because the tape doesn't lie.
Yeah, the tape doesn't lie. I know Tommy. It sounds like you know Tommy as well. He has no more or less ego than any offensive coordinator and offensive coach in the league. If I was Tommy and I looked at it, he was one of 3 coordinators that had his part in Milroe's experience in Tuscaloosa. And I would say, well, it went better with me than maybe it did with the next guy.
Right.
And so there's that. And there's the intimate knowledge of how he works and being able to work with him. But it also could be the converse, and we didn't even get into it yesterday. He knows his limitations, whether that's processing, accuracy. And so maybe it's I love the guy, and everyone in Tuscaloosa loves the guy. I mean, he's one of the most beloved players you'll find, but maybe he's given the information the other way. So Milroe is the wild card of this draft, because you hit on Lamar Jackson with the development that they had. You hit on Jalen Hurts with the development that he had. But you didn't hit on Vince Young. I'm talking about the league in general.
Yeah.
You didn't hit on Vince Young. Well, the difference was Vince Young came in, and I think the skill set is a little bit closer to Vince Young than it is Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson. I truly do. Vince Young didn't have the opportunity or the luxury, if you will, of time. He was a 3rd overall pick.
Yeah,
Titans had to play him.
Right.
Yeah, Titans had to play him. and he wasn't ready. Now, Jalen had time and Lamar had time, you know, and we've seen a lot of other guys who have time who work out their kinks, whatever they are. And so, you know, that part to me is interesting. And I think Cleveland, no matter whether it's Jackson Dart trading back up into the first round, it doesn't sound like Tyler Shuck, Jalen Milroe in the second round, if they take him that high. Some teams have him fourth, fifth round. Okay.
I know. Crazy.
But some teams, but I think it was Colin Cowherd came out the other day and said Pittsburgh likes him enough to take him at 21. And then Schefter comes out and refutes that, and they're not taking a quarterback. So, like, it's that time of year. But my point is the grades are all over the place on Jalen Milroe, and understandably so, because his tape can be punishing at times. The accuracy, not seeing the field, not going from one read to the next. But then he throws this beautiful deep ball down the right rail, or he takes off running when Georgia tries to blitz him and picks up 24 and what should have been a negative 7-yard play. And it's tantalizing. So he's, after Shedeur, I think he's the most intriguing player in terms of where he's going to go.
And do we have a moment like it last year where Atlanta, they trade up and they get Michael Penix and everyone is kind of like mouth agape, you know, can't believe that this actually happened? Like, do we have a chaos moment where maybe there is a team out there, like you said, we don't always know, and there's a lot of smoke screens where a team like has fallen in love with Dart or fallen in love with Milroe, and all it is, it takes one team, right, to fall in love with one guy and make a decision. So is there someone that's maybe off the beaten path that could come in and say, hey, we want a quarterback and we like this guy?
I look down to like 26, I think it is, with the Rams and their situation. You want to try to win now, but would they be willing to take a shot if they believed in one of these guys? You know, if a Shedeur was starting to fall, or maybe they'd surprise and move up a few spots to secure a Jackson Dart, who I think would do really well in McVay's system. So they could be kind of a little bit of a dark horse in this quarterback thing. And everyone knows, right? Or what happens if Shedeur starts to fall a little bit? Could we have
a Jimmy Clausen situation, right? Or a Lamar situation, right?
It could be, it could be one of those two. But it also could be, Tate, it could be a Nick Caserio type deal. Remember, Nick Caserio was on the hot seat. People forget that. Nick was there were rumors that he wasn't going to last that offseason even after the draft. I remember going into that draft with ownership and the frustrations. And then all of a sudden he had, I call it the cake and eat it too move, where he wanted Will Anderson. I'm sure he wanted CJ Stroud too, but he had to get approval from ownership. And I think ownership really wanted CJ Stroud, and they wound up getting both the guys.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk top 10 prospects that McShay is higher on than consensus, and we'll talk some DNs and just some more fun NFL draft talk. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back to Thru the Ringer. We're here with Todd McShay. We're making sense of the 2025 NFL Draft. And again, if you're not following the newsletter, go get it right now, the McShay Report. You just put this out, the top 10 prospects that you're higher than consensus on. And I want to start with my guy, Omarion Hampton. You said he would be a top 3 pick in the 1990s. I am right there with you. I couldn't have said it better myself. What do you like about Hampton? And, what have you seen on the tape that really is tantalizing based on his skill set?
Yeah, there's not many guys that are, 220 plus that run as powerfully as he does, but are as light on their feet. And then you add the fact that he's kind of a badass in pass protection, and his production after the catch. I think he's number one in terms of running backs in missed forced tackles,
right,
as a receiver. Okay. So it's like, what's he missing? And he didn't have a great offensive line at North Carolina. The production was outstanding. He was having to grind out yards. He's used to what it's going to look like in the NFL. And so it doesn't take a super scout to figure out that Ashton Ginty's an all-world player, right?
Right.
But that doesn't mean that a second great back can exist. And this is the most talented top to bottom running back class I've evaluated in 25 years of doing this. And it starts at the top with those two guys. And I think we're going to see a run probably mid-second through the late 4th round of more running backs in a span than we've ever seen in draft history, because this is such a talented group. So when you're watching the tape And you've got guys like Quinshon Judkins, who's awesome. Travion Henderson, who's explosive. Cam Scadaboo, whose tape was even better than what I saw just watching the Arizona State games. And we all know how amazing he was this year. RJ Harvey's this little jitterbug for UCF that's a team captain and catches the ball well and does all the, like, the list goes on and on and on. Caleb Johnson from Iowa, right? Yeah. But when the tape is different on two guys than everybody else, and all those guys are really good and going to be very productive in the league in different roles, it tells you something, and it really stands out. And I just think the tape's different with Hampton. Now, where do these guys go, right? And the value of running back, and it's kind of circling back. Everything's cyclical in the NFL, and it's not circling back because teams want to run the ball 35, 40 times and like the 1990s, as I mentioned. I don't know if there's going to be some wild card. I've heard, people speculating Patriots or Jaguars. I think that legitimately the first shot is Las Vegas at number 6. But I look at Chicago, and they've put themselves in a position where they could make a similar move, right? So maybe the 2 backs come off the board at those spots. I don't know if Dallas is still in the market at 12. I think they need wide receiver and other positions. But you start to go down that list, and it'll just be interesting. Will a team move up to try to get one? Will a team take one, even though we're looking at it right now, like they don't have a running back need, but they're trying to do what Detroit didn't really have a big running back need either. But they're trying to be dynamic at that position. So it's going to be fascinating where those 2 guys come off the board. And then will there be a third one? And if there is a third back in the first round, I would say it's Travion from Ohio State.
And it does, this is coming off a season where Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley were so featured, so discussed, so dominant that it is kind of one of those things where the human condition comes into play. And if you're a team and you see these 2 guys that are on their own tier as players, you're saying, hey, running back's important. Why don't we make this move now? You mentioned wide receiver for the Cowboys, and a name that you have is your number 1 guy, Matthew Golden from Texas. I'm a big fan as well. I mean, this guy's a burner. He's got a lot of talent. Why do you think he's the best receiver in the class?
It's not a great class of wide receivers. We've been so spoiled for like a decade now, you know, like when Justin Jefferson's going mid-first and, we've got it feels like a Jamar Chase and then the 4 Alabama receivers and it feels like 12 Ohio State receivers, right? We've been spoiled, and this just happens to be a down year. Matthew Golden is kind of a surprise. He only had like 38 catches or something like that at Houston the last year he was there. He comes to Texas. He's the number 2. Well, Texas figured out we better stop featuring Isaiah Bond. And then he got nicked up, and that kind of helped with the decision. And when they started featuring Matthew Golden, the offense started to take off a little bit towards the end of the year, the passing game. And Golden, to me, is an underrated route runner with that 4.29 speed. He's explosive, but he knows how to tempo his routes, how to leverage defensive backs, get in and out of breaks in a flash, and he adjusts to the ball. A lot of these guys who run the 4.29 or the sub 4.3 at the combine, they come in and it's like that. Yeah, but it's kind of inconsistent catching the ball, kind of a track guy. He's not a track guy. He's a wide receiver, and he catches the ball really well. Maybe he's not going to be your number 1, your elite receiver, but he's going to be a damn good number 2 who can stretch the field vertically. And listen, Teteroa McMillan from Arizona has all the skill set you look for. Tall, long, athletic, highlight catches. And I think there's a place for him in the league.
And I do feel like it almost is a consensus because there's nobody else that really jumps off the page. Like you said, this class there's no wow factor here. So it's a lot of what you like with the wide receiver.
Yeah. And it's hard, man. It's hard because you look at this class and you agree there's a bunch of good receivers, but I can get a good receiver in the 2nd or 3rd round. I can get a Jalen Knoll from Iowa State or his teammate, Jaden Higgins. I can get some good guys. And I personally, I like Matthew Golden as much as probably anybody out there, but I still keep it in perspective of look at the great organizations, whether it's the Philadelphia Eagles, we've seen it with the Chiefs, the Bills. The focus when you get your quarterback is you better start getting guys on the other side because the quarterback can make up for 10 guys on the offense and make them better. He can't elevate the defense. And as I talked to Howie Roseman at the Combine, we had him on. We need closers. If we believe in our quarterback, we're going to jump to leads, and we need guys who are going to close out the game. So you watch Howie every year. They don't need a defensive tackle. They don't need an edge. And then they go draft another guy. And so I look at all these guys like Abdul Carter you start out with, and Jalen Walker from Georgia, and his teammate Michael Williams. And then you start looking down the list, and you got a this freakishly talented kid, Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M, and James Pierce from Tennessee, and Donovan Ezeraku from Boston College. And I'm like, maybe I'll just go get my receiver in the second round. So I think we're going to see a run on these edge guys and defensive tackles. We'll see a couple quarterbacks, but I think it's going to be a lot of defensive prospects early, and the wide receivers will have to wait.
Yeah, and you guys are doing a great job doing deep dives on each position group. You had 35 defensive line prospects graded in the first 3 rounds. So like you're saying, I mean, that is
and I'm off if I'm off by 8. Right. If there's 8 fewer than that, it still would be the record for the most defensive linemen drafted in the first 3 rounds. So I'll be very surprised if we don't set that record for interior and edges in the first 3 rounds of a draft, because I mean, these guys, truly, it's a different group.
I want you to plug the fact that you guys are going to be in Los Angeles for the NFL draft. We're what, 24 days away right now from the NFL draft?
I think we're down to 23 now.
23. Oh, wow.
I know. I'm getting nervous.
I appreciate it.
No, it's all right. I only know because I'm getting nervous about the workload left. Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's a good sign that you've got executives and producers around you, and you're allowed to ask this question, because I finally just spilled the milk yesterday, and I don't know, and I haven't been yelled at yet. So we're going to be in LA, and we're excited. And no one told me to announce it or not to announce it, so I just decided to. We're going to do a live show for the first round of the draft. We're going to come on an hour before, and we're going to live stream the whole time. Then we're going to have the second night, we're going to do the second round, and we'll have something that kind of lives overnight for that. Mm-hmm. Then the third round, I was trying to figure out, like, what can we do that'll be fun, be a little bit different. So I called my good friend Ryan Russillo. I've known for 25 or so years, Boston guy. And I was like, hey, bud. And I gave him the old town speech. Like, I'm going to ask, I'm going to tell you something we're going to do, and you can't ask me questions, and we're going to hurt somebody and all that. I just need you to say, like, whose car are we taking? And he's like, of course he went to the NBA schedule. I'm like, bud, you can miss an NBA. He's like, no,
you can miss
the
Hornets Pacers. Yeah.
He's like, what time's the draft end? All right, the playoff games are an hour later. I was like, but he said yes. So we're going to invade his house with producers, camera people. We're coming in, lights everywhere. He's got this awesome little man cave that's kind of, he's not doing so bad for himself. Single man out in Manhattan Beach. And we're just going to take over his whole thing, watch the 7th round live stream there, and have a little bit of fun with him.
That's amazing. That's great news. I'm glad you decided to announce it. I'm sure there will be many more announcements ahead, but it's going to be great. So go join McShay and the whole gang there for that show. Todd, you're the best. We appreciate you coming on the show, and we'll have you back soon. Enjoy those last 23 days of hard work, and hopefully you get a nice break afterwards.
I will, Tate. I appreciate it. It's good talking to you. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, there you have it. Another edition of Thru the Ringer. Thanks to Cousin Sal, as always. And thanks to Todd McShay for making his debut on Thru the Ringer. We appreciate him. Again, if you are someone that keeps up with the NFL draft, go follow everything that McShay is doing. He is doing the deepest of dives. He is swimming in the ocean in depths you've never seen before, on edge rushers that you've never heard of before. He is completely locked in. And again, we appreciate everybody tuning into the show, and we will see you next week.